Welcome to the PostalMate webinar, PostalMate for Newbies. My name is Karen Grant, and I'll be your instructor today. I want to welcome you all to this lovely webinar. We're going to get started and first talk about the supported hardware, because this is an expensive part, but very important part of your store. Remember, this runs your store. This software program does just about everything you need to do in a store. Consequently, you want to make sure that you have appropriate equipment and keep up on that equipment. Now, I will tell you, we don't update it all the time or frequently because we don't want to we are very conscious of your budgets and we don't want to have to force you to go buy new things. But the one thing I want you to make sure to do is keep up on the hardware requirements. We always have them posted on our website in the Help Center. You must use a supported scale, and that's because it has to be a legal for trade scale. If it's a supported scale, it will interface with PostalMate. You can use a non-supported scale that, as long as you make sure it's legal for trade in your state, but that scale will not talk to PostalMate, so it makes it a little less convenient. And then make sure that you are using current model processors in your computers, that your computers are no more than a couple years old. We encourage you to have no computers in your store beyond about 5 or 6 years old. Your master or main workstation, if you are networked, and most stores are, will need to be your strongest workstation. So we encourage you to have at least 16 gigabits of RAM on that. And Windows 11 is the preferred now, Windows 11 Pro if you can. Windows 10 will be ending soon, so keep that in mind. And then, and we will support Windows 10 until Microsoft stops supporting it. So they have announced that their end date is October 14th of 2025. That's when we will stop supporting it. When we stop supporting something, that does not mean that it ceases to work with PostalMate. It simply means that our support team, if you're having an issue with it, really won't be able to help you out much, because every update we do from that point forward will not be tested on an unsupported operating system. So it will happen that one day PostalMate will not work on Windows 10. Will that be on October 15th? I highly doubt it. It could be sometime this year, it could be sometime next year, it could be sometime the year after that. But when it happens, we won't go and fix it because we don't support Windows 10. So every day, basically after October 14th that you are running Windows 10, you're running that risk. Now, I can tell you, historically, it usually takes a year or two before it stops working, but I can't promise that because I don't know what changes are going to be made in the software and with Windows 11. All right. We do have a new feature called PostMate Pay. If you'd like an easy one-step integrated credit card processing with PostMate, you'll want to sign up for PostMate Pay. We are introducing this only to new customers or new stores or people who watch this webinar. It is not yet available to our general public. And then training opportunities. This is your golden opportunity. You have several ways to get learned in this industry. The best way to do it is our YouTube videos, which is our training channels called PostMate Training, or on our website. We have probably 25 older recorded webinars there. We have over 70 videos. We have hundreds of tech notes now. We also do some live training if you want to come to one of the events where we do live training. The biggest event for live training is actually coming up at the end of this month, and that only happens once every 18 months. So if you miss this opportunity, you won't be able to have that opportunity again for a year and a half. And that is at the RS Expo. We actually come in early and we take the entire day Wednesday, which would be May 28th, and do a full round of classes. I think we have 7 different hour-long classes that day. Throughout that long weekend, we'll have about 20 classes. Some of them are on repeat, a couple of them are on repeat, so that you have every opportunity to get the training that you desire on the topics you want. So every hour that we train is a different topic, and you can pick and choose those topics that are near and dear to your store and your heart. We also offer some regional training events. This year we have 2 regional events left in the year. One is in Indianapolis on the weekend of September 7th and 8th. We always do our teaching on the Sunday, which would be on the 8th. But RS Associates comes in and does some training, has a training opportunity if you desire on the Saturday the 7th. Same thing with Orange County, November 6th and 7th. Those are separate signups and there's a separate fee. The fees are very modest. They're designed just to cover the costs of providing the hotel event space and meal that we serve on Sunday afternoon. So it's a very nominal fee, and I can't even remember what it is. I want to say $149 or $199 or something like that for our Sunday event. So hopefully you will get a chance to come and see us in person. I myself go to all of those events, and we bring staff depending on how big. The staff going to the RS Expo is pretty big because we do so much teaching and things for you to take advantage of. Your communication with us is really important. Mind you, when you purchase PostMate, we don't have anything else to sell you, so we're not going to be marketing to you. We don't sell your emails or anything like that. We actually just need to get a hold of you and your store when there's an issue. So that means an issue you find and call us on, or an issue we find and call out to you. So if a carrier, for example, is having an issue, we will often email you, hey, this carrier has having some intermittent service issues. And that's so that we don't have 3,000 or 4,000 stores calling us all at once because there's an issue. We don't have enough. We have a good sized support team, but not enough to handle over 3,000 calls in an hour. That's not going to happen. So we will notify you often by email. We also have another trick. Hopefully I'll remember to show you in PostalMate. So make sure that we have your current email address and your current store phone number. Sometimes when you sign up with PostalMate, you give us your home phone number, your cell phone. That's not going to do any good really unless you're at your store at the time of the event. So if you're always at your store, I guess that's probably okay. But make sure that we have your store phone number. That's really a good idea. When you need help, and you will need help, to get the best support, we will, you can email us, you can call us, you can even use old-fashioned fax if you want, but I don't encourage that. But calling us or emailing us is the quickest. Email is a little bit quicker because oftentimes we will have a set answer. For example, if a carrier is having an intermittent outage or something and you email us, we can email right away back to you. Or if you're needing to know how to set something up, we can email instructions right back to you. Whereas phone calls can take a little bit of time because we have to listen to the voicemail. Then we put it in our call queue. And our call queue is not a first come, first serve basis. So if you don't give us the information we need, like telling us who you are, what store you're with, your store phone number, your serial number, and tell us what the issue is, then we assume that you need a call back sometime this week. It is not urgent to you. It's just that you need a call back sometime this week. Oftentimes it'll be the same day, but I'm not promising it'll always be the same day. If we're particularly busy, like lately, we've had some great new features released. So one of them required new scanners, 2D scanners for stores. So we're helping thousands of scanners get set up in PostalMate. And so lately, people that don't give us all the information up front don't get a call same day. And that does happen, even though we have a full and robust, wonderful support team. They will definitely look at the reason why that you need a call back and prioritize that, much like going to the emergency room. If you're having an emergency, we need to know that. We don't want you just calling and saying, here's my number, call me back. No, tell us the issue. Tell us more. More is better. All righty. And then I want to talk real briefly. We do have many, this is just a sampling of some of the other features in PostalMate that we won't be touching on today. These are features that we would have classes on, many of these in the at the RS Expo or at our regional training. So if these things are of interest to you, you can certainly get more information on YouTube or on our website, but also you can get more information if you attend one of those events. Things that you need to know. This is very important for you if you're new in this industry. FedEx, UPS, and DHL require you to have a special account if you're selling shipping services. There are some, what I'm going to call rogue third-party software that is trying to attract attention in this industry that says, come ship with us, we have better discounts. If you use those discounts and those accounts, you can become blacklisted from the carrier, meaning when the carrier finds out, and they do find out, when the carrier finds out, they actually blacklist your location and you will not receive any service in the future. Even if you get the right account, they won't let you have the right account at that point, and they will not give you service in the future because you disobeyed the rules that they have. So make sure that you have the appropriate reseller accounts. Those have special acronyms in this industry. UPS, it's called an ASO, Authorized Shipping Outlet. FedEx, it's called an FASC, FedEx Authorized Ship Center. And DHL, it's called a DSPP, DHL Service Point Provider. For post office, you do not have to have a special account. You'll just want an Indicia account that can connect to your PostalMate. The location of your store is a super important factor in the success of your location. 35 years ago, it didn't seem to matter too much because people would run and seek you out. But nowadays, having a great location with good visibility on a busy street in a well-to-do neighborhood, those are important factors in how well you will do. If you're on around the corner in an industrial section in the center of South Phoenix, I would not expect your store to do very well in most cases. If you're in a very fancy neighborhood right on the corner where everybody sees your store and your store name, and you're in Beverly Hills, I think you're going to do pretty good. Now, bear in mind that the rent is probably a good $10,000 or $20,000 a month difference between the two, and that'll be a factor in your success. But you have to find the best location you can for the budget that you have. It's very important. It makes a huge difference. If you're buying from an existing owner, so an existing store, just bear in mind that that owner may or may not be a good person to learn from. You'll know by their books. If they were wildly successful, then you probably should listen carefully to them. But if you don't feel they were as successful as they can be, listen to them, but take it with a grain of salt and just be open to learning new ideas. And just remember, PostalMate is a great tool, but it's not a replacement for you knowing the rules and the restrictions of shipping and sales. So you need to learn about shipping margins and shipping rates and shipping rules. You need to read the service guides provided by each of the carriers or the websites. You need to learn, if you're going to offer USPS first class mail, then you need to learn the rules for USPS first class mail. And that goes for every service that you offer in your store, whether it be a carrier service or something else. Please become educated. You will be looked at by your community as the professional shipping store in your area, and you are expected to be that professional. And that does not mean you can walk in off the street, open a store tomorrow, and all of a sudden be expected to be the professional. Just this industry does not have a degree required. But in essence, you have to become that degreed expert on your own. You have to get that much education in the first 6 months or a year of owning a store that you could, be the equivalent of a degreed professional. Otherwise, you run a risk of doing something wrong and it costing you a lot of money or a lot of business. So please get that education. Nothing is more important in the beginning than getting the right accounts, getting the right location, and getting the education. Those are the things that you need. How do you find out more? If you're not yet a PostalMate customer, you probably already know about how to reach us, but calling our number. Everybody in our sales division is longtime experts in this industry. So years and years of store ownership, years and years of using PostalMate, years and years of experience in this industry, and well respected in the industry. So please reach out and we will be happy to talk you through the process. All right, now we're going to go to PostMate. This is what you came to this event for. So every day when you come into your store, you should open your computer fresh. I would like you to shut down your computer every day. If you tend to want to leave it on, I recommend you shut it down at least twice a week, say Wednesday and Saturday. Don't leave it on over the long weekend. Anytime you have bad storms in your area or something, it can cause problems. We don't want power surges to cause problems in your computer system, et cetera, et cetera. So make sure that you open your computer, and then you're going to open PostalMate by clicking on the icons. When you do that, PostalMate's going to open. It'll take a minute to fully launch. This is the shipping side of our software. And then there's the flip side, which is the POS side, which we call CashMate. And once you open CashMate, CashMate will ask you, would you like to open the register for the day? And you'll say yes, and you enter your starting cash. Now that could be a static amount like $100 every day. Now, if you do $100 every day, it means you have to count out and take out coins and all that stuff. So most stores will have $100 and like say 52 cents or something like that, or maybe they'll just round it up or have a new amount based on what was left over yesterday. You do what works for you. There's no right and there's no wrong in this except enter the amount you're starting with that's real money for that day. That's the only thing that you have to do. And then click OK. And now it will start counting your sales against what you already have in the till. And at the end of the day, you can balance it all out because it knows to subtract your starting cash. So once we get to this, we're going to go back to PostalMate and to CashMate. And you can see that this is like they're connected. So this is one software, but it has two sides of the software, and you could use them independently. We have like universities that use the shipping side, use PostalMate, but they're not allowed by law to use our CashMate. They have to use the state supplied cash register or POS system. That's, and so they can't use CashMate, but they still use the shipping side. We have stores that were shipping stores once upon a time 30 years ago, and they've divested from that and became retail centers, maybe office supply stores. So they don't use the shipping side anymore, but they love CashMate. And so they continue to use CashMate. So they can be used independently, but they generally 99% of the time are used together. Think of it like a quarter. You have heads and tails on the quarter. It's the same quarter, but you do have two sides that look completely different, but it works together, and PostalMate works together. So once you're over here, you're going to have a bunch of selections over here. You have some settings selections, etc. The things I'm going to show you today, I have everything that I can have turned on. When you get your software, it doesn't come with everything turned on because we don't know what you're going to do in your store. We don't know if you're going to offer freight. We don't know if you're going to want to accept and hold packages for customers. We don't know if you're going to offer quoting for your customers or estimates. So some of these are turned off but can just be turned on in your settings. Along with that, let me just advise you that when you design your store, you're going to design a color scheme and hopefully have somebody do a logo that's going to be really cool for your store. You can replace the PostalMate logo right here with your logo. So you're basically, this comes white labeled and you can have your logo here. Then also this bottom stripe, which we have this PostalMate blue right now. Maybe blue is not one of your store colors. You can change this. We have about 9 or 10 different colors you can choose from. Maybe you want yours to be red or green. You can do that. It is available, and you can match your logo and your store colors and everything together, and it looks like it is your store software because it is your store software. In this, we're going to look at the most common things. The first, we try to prioritize this. Ship and mail are the things that you're going to do most often, typically in a store. And so we'll start with the parcel or document, drop off with carrier label, and quick postage. And in these things, you're going to decide whether the item is something you're going to ship, and this is always on one of your accounts. So this is when the customer is going to pay you. This here is actually even more common. This is when a customer brings in a prepaid label that they're just dropping on a box or a bag that they're going to drop off for the carrier to take. This is usually something that they purchase somewhere and they're returning it. So that would be this one. And then quick postage is when you need a stamp. And PostalMate works with your Indicia account and can create an actual stamp for a first-class item. But this one is the one where we make the most money. So we're going to focus on this today, parcel or document. And it's going to walk you through a series of screens that helps you to not make mistakes. Rather than have one screen where everything is on it, we use what's called a wizard method, which walks you through, and it's super easy to learn. It's much easier to learn. It's much easier to train employees on, and it's much easier to not make mistakes. So easy. Customer. Who is your customer? Okay, so let's say this is my customer. And then it wants next. What's the zip code to where the package is going? Okay. Is it on here, in this list? You can even check this little box right down here, and it will show only places that that person has sent to before. And it's not on this list. So I'm going to select add, and it's going to allow me to add an address. Now, both of these places share that zip code, so it wants you to choose the correct town, and then it wants you to enter the name and address of that person. So this is called address autocomplete. So you would select the correct address. In this case, I'm going to select the one without the zip 4 because occasionally you will have an office complex that has more than one zip 4. And then it knows that this has a suite. If it was an apartment, it would know that it has an apartment. And so you would select the correct address. Does that look correct? It does. We'll select yes. And now it will add the zip 4, which happened to be the same, but it did a check to make sure. Excuse me. Now you're not finished. You still have one more thing to do. An address is never complete without the phone number. And that's both the ship from, which is your customer, and the ship to, where the package is going. It needs a phone number on both. So I know it's my phone number too. It's your phone number and my phone number. Don't do as I did. Do the real phone number. An email is optional, always a great idea, but it is not required. We'll click OK. And now we will enter the weight. Now, I don't happen to have this computer connected to a scale. So I can manually, and you could do this too, you can manually enter the weight if you don't hook your computer to your scale. But most stores want their scale and their computer to be connected so they don't have to enter the screen. In fact, this screen wouldn't even show up. You can make it so that it just bypasses the screen and the weight would just automatically be in there. And that's the way that most stores do. This screen is the screen I call the most important screen in PostalMate because this one is where it helps you with all the extra costs associated with your shipment. So first of all, is it in generic packaging or is it in carrier branded packaging, and what's the difference? So a generic packaging is any package that your customer brought in that maybe they had a box in the garage or an Amazon box they used, or it's a generic box that you sold in your store. That would be generic packaging. This is most of your packaging. Carrier branded packaging is carrier supplied packaging that has a specific rate usually attached to it. So here's an example of what FedEx carrier branded packaging looks like. It's shiny white and pretty, and you must only use it for the services that FedEx specifies, which would be air services, qualifying air services. You could not use this packaging, for example, for FedEx Ground. They get very angry when you do that. So you cannot use this for FedEx Ground. UPS has a similar set of boxes that are brown. DHL has a similar set that are a bright, obnoxious yellow. Post office carrier branded packaging will always say the words flat rate. And be careful because post office actually has some packages that are not what we call carrier branded, even though they are technically say post office on them, USPS on them. And the difference is that the shipping costs are based on the packaging or not on the packaging. And so with post office, it would say flat rate for you to use carrier branded. When you select carrier branded, you can select, is it a carrier envelope, a carrier padded envelope, a carrier box, or a carrier tube. For generic, it wants you to enter the outer dimensions. And it's very important that you read this carefully. It says outer dimensions. That's going to be bigger than the dimensions that are written on the bottom of the box. Those dimensions are the inside dimensions. The box companies realize or believe that you need to know what will fit inside of it. So that's the dimensions of a 12 by 12 by 12 box are the interior dimensions, not the exterior. The exterior each have a 1/4 inch wall of box or greater, and that will increase the box size. So 12 by 12 by 12 is usually a 12.5 by 12.5 by even 12 3/4. Now, you don't have to get this specific. If you want to just round up, you can absolutely just round up. So you could just enter 13, 13, 13 and be fine. The carrier rounds up at 0.5 and higher, and the carrier rounds down at 0.49 and lower. But bear in mind, please understand that your package can and will change shape during shipping. So that means that humidity will make it increase inside. If it gets damp, um, cardboard swells. Also, if it's packaged in a way that if a 50-pound box was thrown on top of it and it squashes it, then the shape could change. That 12 by 12 by 12 could end up being more like a 14 by 14 by 7 if you didn't pack it well enough. So, and that can change the price of the package. So packing firmly so that boxes can't get squashed, and also making sure that you're rounding up to include the walls of the box is very, very important. These numbers can have a dramatic effect on your price. So a 13, 13, 13 compared to a 12, 12, 12 isn't going to be a huge difference. But when we get into bigger sizes or longer sizes, it can be a significant difference, even up to a $1,500 difference in some cases. So it can become really important when the package gets big. Then PostalMate wants to know, is the article in a standard container or not? If it's not in a standard container, you are responsible for telling PostalMate that. PostalMate cannot see the container. It cannot do this part for you. Now, what is not a standard container? So an unstandard container is not defined specifically by the carriers. They each have kind of a generalization, and then they have the rule of discretion, meaning they can decide on a whim that your container is not standard. So let me tell you what history has shown us is not a standard container. If it's not in a corrugated box, it's generally not a standard container. So a bucket, pail, wooden crate, metal toolbox, a Rubbermaid container, a suitcase, a tire, a round tube, all of those things are not a standard container. The fee for not being in a standard container starts at $25. So let's say you had some blueprints or a poster and you put it in a round tube. You would need to check this box and it would add a fee starting at $25 for UPS and FedEx. That's pretty obnoxious. But if you fail to do that, you're going to get charged that $25 plus fee regardless, and you may not have collected it from your customer, in which case you will have lost probably a lot of money on that shipment, which is not the goal. So make sure that you're honest with yourself to protect your store here. The second item is it in a padded envelope or soft pack? And this gets really important because the carriers allow soft packs or padded envelopes, but they charge an additional fee if they're over a certain size. So when you check this, you're basically telling PostalMate, this 14 by 18 by 6 is not a box that's 14 by 18 by 6. It's a padded envelope, and I need to check those rules. So it will check that for you. So then we click the next button, enter the declared value. Now this is how much you want this package covered for, usually by the carrier for if the package goes missing or is damaged. Please bear in mind that you're responsible for making sure that it's packaged correctly. That carriers can and will deny a claim on damage if they feel the package was insufficiently packed. And that's actually an extremely common reason they give for not paying a claim. So also you have the option in PostalMate of signing up with what's called an alternate insurance provider that would use insurance provided from a third party rather than the carrier at a better rate to you. If you use that, you usually will make more money on insurance as a profit center. However, bear in mind, there are new rules that you're going to have to follow for that insurance provider, and they are very, very strict on those. So it's another thing that you're going to need to know the rules on if you want to take advantage of the pricing that they offer. Some things also cannot be shipped by the carrier, and some things have limitations on value. So if you send, let's say, some jewelry and you insure it for $5,000, but that carrier has a limit of $1,000, even though you paid insurance for $5,000, they're not going to cover it. That's money spent and money gone. Shame on you. You have to know those rules. They will only pay up to $1,000. So those are important factors Again, why you need to know the rules. Then this little spinning part is where Postmate is reaching out to the carriers to get your specific rates, because your rates and the store down the street might be different, and often are different. So it's reaching out to get your rates and adding your margins that you have set. And then it comes back to the rate comparison screen. You set this rate comparison screen to how you want it to function. So I've set it up like on this one for UPS and FedEx only. I have DHL tab. I have each unique tab, US mail, less reliable. You get to decide what's going to be on it. This first tab will always be showing first. And this is the one that you'll see, your employees will see. And in many cases, you will angle this or show this to your customer and they will see it. Consequently, you would want to only put things on this front screen, services that you want to sell. In other words, you may have other services you can offer them, but maybe you don't make as much money on them and you want to keep them on a back tab that you only go to if specifically requested for that service. So in this case, you're looking at it and you're going to choose between the different services. So in general, that's going to be ground. Now, I want you to pay attention to a couple features once I highlight it. You get the logo over here. It tells you what zone it's going to. It tells you the billable weight, and it gives you some numbers over here. We're going to discuss those in detail. So when I select this, it's going to zone 2, so that's a close shipment. And then it says it's a billable weight of 14 pounds. So what that means is even though this is only a 1 pound package over here, you're being billed for 14 pounds on this. And that's because of the size of the box. So this size box, the carrier estimates, gives it a value of 14 pounds. And that's a formula that they use, and there's no getting around it. So you could put up to 14 pounds in this box and it's going to stay at $24.29. If you go to 15 pounds, then it will start to go up by pound from there. So sometimes you will have a customer say, why so much? It's just a lightweight little doodad. And that's because of the size of the box. I can tell you that from my history, the thing that used to get stores or customers the most was occasionally you would have a really big box, like a 20 by 20 by 18, and it had a lampshade in it, a fancy lampshade. Now, the box and the lampshade together probably weighed 6 pounds, but the billable weight on something like that is probably like 60 pounds. And so here they were paying some humongous, like $115 or something, or $130 to send something that weighs 5 pounds. And it always blew their minds away, but that is a real thing. So size really matters. If somebody brings in a box and it comes up like this, you can always ask the customer, is the box completely full? And if they say no, it's only about half full. Well, what's in the rest of it? Just peanuts or stuffed paper or whatever. You can, if it's something you're interested in helping your customer, you can say, well, do you mind if I open it and see if we can reduce the cost? And you can charge a fee for opening it and cutting down the box. So let's say you charge a $5 fee, but it saves them $10. Then their net saving is $5 on that. You become the hero, and that $5 was 100% profit. It didn't go to the carrier. So that's kind of a win-win in that case. And you made a customer for life because you were going the extra mile to help that customer out. So just some ideas like that. And then we have in the upper right corner some numbers. So this ID is a development code, so ignore that for now. We're actually going to get rid of that sometime this year because it has no bearing on you. But the A, C, and D number is important to you. So in this case, the A number is what your cost is. So this is what you would be billed for by, in this case, UPS, $10.94. This is based on your account and what came back from the carrier when you saw those spinning wheels. The C number is the carrier published rate before discounts. So this is the published rate in the published rate guide. The D number is the amount of profit, so that you don't have to do the math. It's the difference, this number here minus your cost. So this one, you're making $13.35. The number in these cells here is always what you're charging the customer. So that's the one that's prominent, and this is always going to be your customers' charges and it already has your profit built in. And you can see it right up here in the D number, $13.35. Okay? All right, and then the next screen is any add-ons you might want. And typically, the only add-on that's used heavily is if the customer needs a signature on that package. But generally, other than that, we don't use any add-ons. And then a review screen, you can type in the contents here. Occasionally, this line will turn yellow. When it's yellow, you have to enter the contents. So under certain conditions, it will turn yellow. Now, there are 7 ways to offer your customer a discount if you're so inclined in PostalMate. One of them is on the shipping side and the PostMate side. 6 of them are in CashMate. The one that's in the PostMate side is right over here. There's a little minus sign right here. And you could say, I'm going to give a $2 discount. Oops, not $200. That would be a little silly. Let's go 0.00 and click OK. And there's our discount. Now let's say we changed our minds. If we click it again, it goes away. So just know that you can enter a discount in dollars over here. In CashMate, you can enter by percentages or dollars. So now when we click finish, we're sending this to the carrier. The carrier, in this case UPS, is going to create the label and send the label as they want it back to your PostalMate system. PostalMate does not create the labels. It's a pass-through system. And so the carrier creates the labels. If this was international, the carrier also creates the commercial invoice and sends that back to your report printer. So once this label comes back, it's going to print out. It will not show on the screen like mine does. This is for demonstration purposes so that you can see it during webinars. But it will print this label out and you will plop that on the box. Now, generally, I don't recommend showing the label to the customer and having them examine it. That's what I would say that they should do with their receipt. The receipt is going to have the address that they're shipping to, and you should make sure that the customer reviews those addresses before they leave the store. But the reason I don't like to show that label is because in certain circumstances with postage, the actual postage amount will show that it's costing you, and you will have charged your customer significantly more for that. And we don't want to have an issue at the counter. In no other industry can you go in and suddenly see what that store paid for it. Can you imagine going into a pizza place and spending $28 for a pizza and something coming up in front of your screen saying $6.50 is what it cost them? Then you'd start talking to them about, why is it costing you $6.50 and I'm paying $28? Yeah, we don't want that issue for you either. So make sure that you make a habit of not showing the label to the customer. There are other options if you want, including having a confirmation receipt at the time of the shipment or the final receipt at the end of the shipment with the address on it for them to look over. So once we're back to our main screen, they also have a heavy envelope that they want to ship out. So you're going to plop it on the scale, and it's a regular standard size envelope, but it weighs 2 ounces. And you have to decide, is it a postcard letter or flat? And a flat would be like a manila envelope that you would put full sheets of paper in, but a letter would be a envelope. Maybe it's a greeting card to grandma with pictures of the grandkids in it. And so it's going to require a little bit more postage. So this is where you can connect to your Indicia account and have a Dymo printer, and it will print out a little kind of a, I'm going to say it's a 2-inch by 2-inch, but it's not quite that big. It's like 1.5 by 1.5 probably. Stamp to go in the upper right corner with the specific amount needed for this envelope. In fact, that amount will be printed, and then once you hit record, and you will make a small profit on that. And that's because you have to buy the stamp label stickies, and you have to also pay for the service, and you have to own the stamp machine. So you're going to have a small profit in that. And by the way, the USPS will give you a discount of 3 to 5 cents per stamp to help you out with those costs. Not a great amount, but hey, every little bit counts. If you have stamps in your drawer, maybe you purchase some stamps and you don't want to print one, you can uncheck this little box down here. And when you hit record, it will still record this as a sale, but it won't print a stamp for you. It expects you to have that stamp in a drawer that you're going to use on that. So once you hit record, it records and we hit close. And now we're ready to take this to the cash register. To do so, we're going to click this button here. Now, true story, I can click the button on my bottom bar and get to CashMate. But I want you to notice what we call the virtual receipt, which is right here, is empty. And that's because the only way to transfer information is to push this button right here. CashMate, which is this side, always needs to be open on your computer. If you close this, you're going to have problems. If you make it a habit of closing this, you're going to have continual problems. So CashMate always needs to be open on your computer so that when you push this button, it can go into CashMate. If CashMate's closed, it can't go there. And now you have a problem. So it will go into CashMate right here and show on your virtual receipt. Here's the actual shipment we did, and then here's that first class mail item. So we have both of these right here. This customer's not finished, however. This customer needs some more things. They need a box. And so they're over looking at your stack of boxes that you sell, and they say, I need one of these. And you look at it and you say, oh, okay. And then you're going to ring up that box. Now, we don't want to have a whole bunch of boxes all on here. Most stores have between 40 and 60 different box sizes. That would be a lot of buttons taken up. So we use the box size as the SKU, and that's the easiest way to ring up boxes. So you say, oh, 12 by 12 by 12, no problem. SKU 12, 12, 12. And then they say, ooh, I need this one also. Okay, it's SKU 16, 16, 16. And then you've got that up. And they say, oh, wait a minute. I actually need 5 of these. I'm cleaning out some books and going to move them into my garage. Oh, okay. That's 5 at SKU 12, 12, 12. Perfect. And they said, yeah, but now you rang up 6 of them. And you look at it and you go, oh, you did. Well, I want you to notice 2 things on this receipt. First of all, this one rang up at $6.50. It was a 1. They wanted 1 of them. This one, where they wanted 5 of them, rang up at $4.95. In CashMate, you can set up products to have quantity discounts. So if you buy 1, it's $6.50. If you buy 5 or more, it's $4.95. If you buy 10 or more, maybe it's $4.50. If you buy 15 or more, maybe it's $4.25, et cetera, et cetera. So in this case, we're going to void this one up here. So we highlight that one, and then we're going to void item. So we click void item, and that will turn to 0 and show as void, as is proper. Now this customer also needs some copies. So they're going to do 20 copies, 20 at black and white letter copies. And they want a book of stamps, and they bought a medium manila envelope. Now they're ready to pay. But here's the problem. She can't find her wallet in her purse. She says, you know what? I had to slam on my brakes to avoid hitting a car. My purse rolled onto the floor. All you women know what I'm talking about. And a whole bunch of things fell out. I'll bet it fell under the seat. Okay, no problem. But you have a customer behind them going, and they're waiting to pay for a copy they made. No problem. We'll put it on hold. I'll just put on wallet. Go look for it. And you help the next customer, and you help the next customer. And finally, she comes back and she says, oh my gosh, can you believe it? It went all the way into the back seat. So I finally found it. You say, no problem. You're going to go to recall. You're going to pull up the one that says wallet, and it's all right where it was. And now you can finish the sale. This comes in really handy because you'll start to multitask in your store. Maybe you have a big pack job you're doing for a customer with 7 or 8 or 9 boxes, and the customer just comes in and they just need something simple. And you'll say to your customer who's standing there, do you mind if I ring them up really quick and then I'll get back to yours so they don't have to wait? No problem. You just put it on hold, go help the quick customer, and then come back, and you're right where you left off. So that's we're very conscious that a lot of times you're running this store yourself, or you only have one person working at the counter at a time, and you need to be able to handle that. Having a customer wait to pay for a $2 fax or a couple of copies when you are ringing up 9 packages for a customer, that can be onerous. Now, you don't want to make angry the person with 9 packages because, well, they're spending money on 9 packages, right? but you never know. That copy customer might be the guy with 10 packages next time. So you got to make him happy too. So make sure that you are able to multitask and use the tools given to you by PostalMate to accomplish these things. So now you're ready to ring this up. You'll click total. Anything you want to do here, you can, whether it's cash, you can do a cash sale, credit card, maybe it's Visa. Most everything, I would say, if you do, let's say you do 40 sales today, 38 or 39, maybe even 40 will be credit card. That's just how it rolls nowadays. So just be aware of that. So let's say it's a Visa, and you run the card and it comes back approved and you finish it. Now you have the option of printing a receipt form from your receipt printer. You can also email them a receipt and enter their email address here, and it will save it to their record if you have them selected. You can unselect both of these, and then there will be no receipt, which almost never happens. Or occasionally you'll need to print a receipt, but you print it on an 8.5 by 11. That almost is never needed, an 8.5 by 11, but some people who work for government entities are required to turn in what's called a paid invoice, which is what this is, rather than a small receipt for their expense report. And so that's what we'll print when you select this on the 8.5 by 11. But almost never is this one needed. In fact, the email one is amazing to use. And the reason is usually your customer will have this before they even get into their car, and it has their tracking numbers in it that they can track right on their phone. So when you say ask for an email address, everybody's always reluctant. No, I don't want to give you my email address. You'll just spam me. When you ask for it at this point, you say, would you like to enter your email address? Can I get your email address so we can email you your tracking numbers? Oh, absolutely. And you can do that. So that's pretty cool. Press OK, and then the receipt will print. It actually looks prettier on this. You do have the option of having your logo on this receipt, should you choose to. And so that can be set up in CashMate. And I want you to pay close attention. I know this print is small, but this has the address of where that package was going so that the customer can check it. You can even have the customer sign at the bottom that they agree that the addresses are correct on this if you want. So that sale is done, and you have another customer come in that wants to do, they need a book of stamps, they need 50 copies, and they are buying a roll of tape, and they're taking some peanuts home with them, and they are buying a gift bag. Let's see, maybe I don't have those set up. Oh, let's do $5.59 gift bag. No, I don't have those set up. Sometimes I use this for testing and remove things. So let's just go to some bubble. Okay, so you got a whole bunch of things over here that they're buying. And you want to give them a discount on some things. So let's say they buy a 20 by 20 by 20 box. And you're going to give them a discount on this. And let's say this one, I'm going to give you a discount of 15%. There you go. There's your discount right there, only on that box. Now, there is something, I can clear this discount. There is something that allows me to do a discount all. It requires some setup. But let's say I do a 10%, let's do a 12%, do something weird, 12% discount all. And so now it did a discount all, but I want you to pay really close attention here. It discounted the box, the bubble, the peanuts, the tape, and the copies. But if you notice, it did not discount the stamps. And that's because stamps, if you mark up stamps, usually it's not very much. And let's say I gave a 25% discount. In fact, if I clear it all, I can do that. But let's say I give a 25% discount because this person is my next door neighbor or something. If I gave 25% discount on stamps, that's more than I made on the stamps. Therefore, I would be losing money on that. So that's with the discount all, you actually set it up so that you can have some products that you don't give a discount on at all. So for example, maybe you sell money orders in your store or something where you don't have much of a profit center, or it's a hash, meaning a pass-through fee. So in that case, you would set those as non-discountable in the discount all button, so it protects you. Now we're going to click total, and this one is a MasterCard, and they're going to finish that and be done. Okay, so now we've had 2 sales and we're tired. It's the end of our day and the carriers start to come in to pick up the packages. So when the carriers come into your store to pick up packages, you are responsible for telling PostalMate that all those packages are leaving your store right now. What that does is closes out those carriers, ends the reporting for the day, sends alternate insurance reports if you're using that. But it also will roll the date forward in PostMate for that carrier. So let me explain why that's really important. Let's say FedEx Express comes in at 4 o'clock to pick up packages from your store. Somebody comes in at 4:15 with a FedEx Express saying, I need to get this there tomorrow. And then they want FedEx Express. Well, you've already had your pickup today. They won't be back to pick up until tomorrow. And so you would go in PostMate. If you did your carrier pickup, PostMate will tell you, today is Wednesday. It won't get there Thursday because you've already had your pickup. It will say it will get there on Friday. And so you will know right away and be able to tell your customer, no, this won't get there till Friday. We've already had our pickup today. And I go, oh, I really have to get it there tomorrow. In that case, you'll say, well, UPS hasn't picked up yet and they can still get it there tomorrow. Would that be okay? And then you would switch them. Same true, vice versa. I mean, if UPS picked up first. So that makes sure that your dates in PostMate are always correct. Now, having said that, this is very important. Please listen. If you should forget to do your carrier pickup in the evening when your carriers pick up, don't do it the following morning. We have a little gremlin named George in PostalMate, and George goes into PostalMate at midnight and says, they didn't do a carrier pickup today. I'm going to roll the dates forward so it's proper for tomorrow. And it fixes it for you. It doesn't end your reporting days properly. It doesn't do all that stuff, but it makes sure that you won't make a mistake in the morning when you first come in or your worker comes in first and you had forgotten it the night before. So you will always start your days proper. So don't roll your date forward in the morning unless by chance your pickup happens to be in the morning. And if you live in the middle of Alaska or out on the boonies in Hawaii, or if you're in the boonies in Montana, it is very possible that your FedEx pickup or your UPS pickup will be 10 or 11 in the morning. Very unusual, but it happens. In that case, that would be appropriate. So do it as soon as the carrier arrives or as soon as you remember to do it after they leave, and not the following day. Okay, let's see. So you're ready to close your day. You did your carrier pickups, and your carrier pickup is done in other activities, and it's done right here. You'll pick your carrier, FedEx Express, next, and then you will just, now when you do this, by the way, if you have any packages you need to void them first, because part of this carrier pickup is you're promising on your honor to PostalMate that every package that it's going to do a closeout on is going on that truck right now. So if you have a package to void, you're going to click here and you're going to, you're going to click here and you're going to find that package and void it, and it will void it in PostalMate. It will also void it with the carrier, so you don't have to void it with the carrier. Here's the really, really cool thing. With UPS, FedEx, and DHL, if you forget to void a shipment today and you can't void it afterwards, you will not get charged for a label that is not used. FedEx, UPS, and DHL will not charge you for a label that they do not scan. So while your records might be wrong in PostalMate, you won't get billed for that package. So that's a really good thing. But post office is a completely different story. For post office services, you pay the moment that label is created, and the only way for you to get your money back in PostalMate is to void that shipment before you close out post office for that day. If you fail to do that, you will have to go directly to your Indicia account and void it from there, not through PostalMate. You can find a package in Postmate, by the way, that you shipped previously. This goes back to the beginning of time since your store started using Postmate. So let's say that you bought a store that's been open for 10 years. You could look up a package that was shipped 10 years ago. So this information never goes away, and it's really quite nice to have. And it does not use a lot of your storage. It doesn't take a lot of storage space for that data. There are other features in Postmate, as I said to you, but now we're done for the day. We've closed out all our carriers. We're going to now close out our cash drawer by going up to File, Close Register Day. And we're going to count our money and make sure that we balance out and then close the day. It will ask me, do you want to print the X report? Always say yes. And that will finalize things for the day and close out your reporting day for CashMate. All of your records will be closed for this day. If by chance you get somebody going knock, 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 knock on your door after you've already closed the day, and they have a big package in their hands and you're going, oh, dollar signs, you can reopen and you can run that package and then close again, no problem. But just know that when you do the closeout, it will close the day for everything you've done so far that day. Okay. All right. I'm not going to actually close out because I'm going to take some questions. But once you're finished for the day and you've closed out your drawer, you're going to X out of CashMate and you're going to go to Postmate. You're going to X out of Postmate, and Postmate's going to ask you once per day, would you like to do a PostMate backup? Never, ever leave PostMate open overnight. That is a bad, bad thing to do. So when you close it each night, it'll ask you, would you like to do a PostMate backup? Always say yes. PostMate backups are held on your C drive. That's where they are pre-programmed to go, unless your previous owner or your current owner has changed that. They go to your C drive, but Postmate allows you to set it to 2 locations. I highly recommend that you have the first location remain your C drive and your second location be a cloud location. Google Cloud, iCloud, Dropbox, Carbonite, I don't care what it is, but offsite in a cloud. Could you use an external hard drive or a flash drive? You absolutely can, but if it is no good to you if you don't take that flash drive with you every night or that external drive home with you every night. Because if a bad guy comes into your store at night and steals your computer, they are not going to politely withdraw your flash drive, set it on the counter for you to use the next day. It will all be gone. That means all of your rates are gone, your customers are gone, your ship to, everything is gone, your settings are gone, all your products are gone, all your history is gone. Everything that you have entered in that pertains to your store is gone. PostalMate would now be a blank, empty shell ready for like a brand new store. And so we don't store it for you. That's up to you. This is your data. You own it, but you make sure that you safeguard it well. Okay, we are going to go to the questions right now. If you have a question, use the dashboard and type that in. We do have a significant number of people on this event or on this webinar, so I may not get to all your questions, but I will try. In the shipping options section, how do you change the tabs? We want to lessen people using USPS. No problem. So that is done right here. Tools, PostalMate settings. All of the major settings for the shipping side are located in this general area. You're going to go right here into shipping settings and service display. This is what will appear on each tab. This is generic. This is carrier branded. For generic, this is your main tab. You can name this whatever you want to have name here. And then here's where you show what services will appear. Let's say I want all of these, but I want only one. I only want priority mail. And so I can actually open this up by clicking the little arrow in front, and I can go down here and find priority mail. And then save that. And now you will notice here, this is dark black, 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 gray. And that's because at least one service is not included. And in fact, all services are not included. I only included priority mail, but then that would show up on your main screen. If you don't want any post office services on your main screen, you just uncheck it. Okay, make sure to always hit this green when it's green. You can name all these tabs. You can have it. I have some stores that have next day, 3 day, 2 day, next day, 2 day, 3 day, ground, and miscellaneous. You know, you can set this up how you want to set it up. Your store. Okay. Can I show how to complete a credit card transaction using an unintegrated credit card service? Sure. So that would be the same, basically what I did. I was not connected to any credit card device. And so if I rang up a book of stamps, went to sale, and it was a Visa, I would click Visa. I would pause here and not click the finish button. I would go over to my unconnected device, type in $15, run the card, wait for it to process. When the little device said approved, I would march back over here and click finish. And that would be it. Okay. We are not, Farouz. This will not be emailed. This recording will not be emailed to you. I do not do that on Newbies. Okay. Does stamps.com work the same as Indicia when using quick postage? So we do not interface with stamps.com. The history here is that historically Indicia was geared towards businesses and stamps.com towards home use or home business use. And then stamps.com bought Indicia. So Indicia had, I want to say, a little bit better technology for printing full labels. Stamps.com focused heavily on just the stamps. But they became one, and they both had the capabilities of both, but they are one company, but they still have separate accounts. Then a bigger company came along and gobbled them up and took them private, and that company's name is called Octane. So Octane, Uctane, owns stamps.com and Indicia. We still interface with the Indicia platform. So if you have a stamps.com platform, you will want to change to an Indicia platform so that it can interface with PostalMate. It might just be I don't know what the process is internally at Octane. It might just be a matter of calling them up and saying, hey, I have a stamps.com account. I need to merge it to an Indicia account. I don't know if they can do that, or they'll just issue a new Indicia account. It's not a big deal anyway. The cost, by the way, I believe is $19.95 a month for the appropriate Indicia account. Okay. Does PostMate interface with the USPS BCG? As far as I know, there is no interface available with the Business Gateway for USPS. So that is something, if they reach out to us and make that available to us, we absolutely will look at integrating with that if it's possible. But to my knowledge, they have not yet provided an interface. I don't know that they will. But so the answer is no. So in the shipping tab, when I select USPS Ground Advantage, I do not see the delivery day. And they notice that on my screen, I do have a delivery day. So that is, let me tell you what the process is. If the carrier does not provide the delivery day, which we call time in transit, then we allow you to set your own. So for all post office services, we do not get a time in transit provided by the carrier. Consequently, we allow you for post office services to set your own. The instructions are a little bit lengthy, so I'm not going to go through them here, but I'm going to show you how to access them. So to get those instructions, I want you to go to our website. When you get to our website, you're going to enter PostalMate. And then there's a cool thing called the Help Center, and that's where you find out, get all the help you need for PostalMate. And you're going to go in here and you're going to go time in transit. And here's it's the first thing that you see here, and you'll have other things. Just click on that. And this is going to walk you through how to set the time in transit for post office so that you can see what you want to see. All right. And in fact, anything you need in PostalMate is usually found right here. So like we have QR codes now that are one of the new features. So here's the supported QR code labels, the hardware requirements, et cetera on that. Let's say you got a Honeywell 2D scanner and need to know what the programming codes are for that. There you go. There's that information. So make sure that you check this out. If you scroll down, by the way, here's recorded videos, tech notes, and webinars. So and you do not have to log in to our website. This is available for everybody to see. In fact, I'll tell you a secret. Stores that do not use PostalMate use our help center to get answers. So for example, I know that there are a number of UPS stores that you have to use UPS software. They're not allowed to use PostalMate, but they use our help center to get a lot of information. All right, let's see what else we have. USPS International is not printing. Is this normal? No, it's not normal. However, a lot of USPS International will print out to your report printer, not your label printer, depending on where it's going and what service you selected. So your report printer must be selected, first of all, as the default in your Windows environment. And then in PostalMate, you must tell PostalMate which of your printers is that default printer. So the first one is you're going to go to printers in Windows. Okay, you'll go in here and you'll make sure that it is your default. See, I have offline and offline. One of these, whichever one is my default, would have to say default here. Okay, so I would have to make sure that I have a default printer. And then in PostalMate, you're going to have to go to Tools, PostalMate Settings. And then you're going to go to Station Settings because this has to be done on every workstation. And your default report printer needs to be selected right here. So that's probably why it didn't print out. This is a lot, Bailey. Yes, we typically do the newbie webinars once a month. In case you couldn't tell, I'm a former store owner. I had 3 stores for 25 years. And then I've worked for PostalMate for 20 years. So I'm a longtime old lady in this industry. So you get a lot of stuff from me. We hold these once a month. I do take off a couple of months. So I would say I do newbie webinars 8 times a year. And then I do what we call hot topic webinars between 4 and 6 times a year. So I may skip June, but I may have one in June. It just kind of, actually, I'll probably have one in June. But we do send announcements out and they are usually on our website. Let me go back. We just changed our website. So bear with me while I'm not 100,000% sure, but let's see, browse webinars. Yeah, I think we don't have all the webinars up right now. So I think that's something we will work on. We just switched over our hosting for our website last week. And so we're still in the first phases of putting it all back together because there's a million links. So I apologize for that. But yeah, if you got an invite for this webinar, chances are pretty good you'll get an invite for the next webinar too. We usually invite all of our newbies for the first 6 months. If you do not have a UPS ASO account, can I still scan an Amazon return with barcode? So Amazon does not have a relationship with you. So technically, you do not have access to the QR code system provided by Amazon that the UPS stores do. If your customer is returning an Amazon thing and they print out a label, then that one you can actually scan because that's just a regular barcode label. But the QR codes from Amazon, you do not have the ability in PostalMate or any other way to access because Amazon has not opened that program to you. So I'm not saying it will always be that way. There's a lot of changes going on in this industry, but it has been that way for about the last 5 years. So please do not, you can scan the FedEx QR codes and get a label. You can scan the USPS label broker QR codes and get a label. You cannot scan any FedEx, or excuse me, scratch that, UPS or Amazon QR codes and get a label. That is not yet allowed. And that will be up to Amazon and UPS to allow you into that program. How do we scan QR codes and which scanner hardware do you recommend? So I recommend you come in here and go, let's see what happens when I go scanner. So there we go, hardware requirements, that's where I'm going. Scroll, 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 scroll. Barcode scanner, these are the ones that you should pick from, okay? All right. Currently, we have a 50% margin and 100% markup. What is a good set to put so it won't charge customers too much, but also make a profit? The 50 is considered basically a baseline minimum. You wouldn't generally want it any less than that, except perhaps for post office. Typically, post office, a lot of stores will charge a little bit less of a margin. Typically, I see for UPS, FedEx, and DHL, margins a little higher than 50%, but is so dependent on your area, your needs, your customer base. You know, you might be in a middle class area and have competition on every corner and need to be at 50 or 52. You might be in a middle class area, but the next competition is 45 miles from now. Now you can be maybe 56 or 58. Excuse me. You might be in a really ritzy area and have next to no competition. Well, now you might want to be 62 or 63. So it just depends. It kind of go along the lines of your rent. The more dollars your rent is, the higher that margin needs to be because you've got to make money. I always tell people with rates, first of all, two rules. Never think about starting out low and I'll increase the rates as I grow. That's just silly. Why make yourself go broke the first year? Your customer, you have to have baseline expenses that you have to cover. Set yourself up for success. People coming into your store. Now you will have that customer that comes in and goes, "Oh my gosh, how can you charge so much? That's ridiculous." Honey, they're going to do that no matter what you charge because paying for shipping is an ugly thing. It's something they don't like to do because they don't walk away with something wonderful in their hands. We're a society that doesn't like to pay for necessary services. It's just like your electric bill. I just gasp at my electric bill, especially in the summer when it gets to be $400 or $500. And yes, my electric bill in the summer is $500. I live in Arizona. So yeah, it's expensive and I hate it. I mean, why do they charge so much? But it is what it is. And you just kind of go, yeah, it's expensive. I agree. Anything else I can get for you? You just move along like that. You just treat your customer like gold. You agree with them. Yeah, it's expensive. That you'll even have people, well, how much more do you charge? Well, not much. But we, just enough to cover our bases here. Oh, that's ridiculous. They'll come back. In most cases, some of them won't. Some of them will not be your customer in the future. That's okay. Treat them really well anyway, so that the worst thing they can say about your store is they didn't like your prices. Don't put bad on top of bad. Especially, in fact, honestly, people in well-to-do areas are the biggest complainers about money. And that's how they got to be well-to-do, is they care about money. So don't be worried about your prices being too high. Be worried about your prices not making you enough money, being too low. The second thing is about pricing is you do not price higher weight things at a lower margin than lower weight things, thinking that, oh, I don't need to make that much on those bigger things. Yes, you do. Because here's the real truth about this world. 8 out of 10 packages you ship will be under 5 pounds, and you make only pennies because you make dollars, but they're small dollars. Making $3 or $4 on every shipment, or $5 or $6, that does not pay the rent. You need those occasional big shipments to help make up for all those little tiny shipments. And if you lower your margin on your big shipments, you're going to create a really tough time paying your bills, and that's not your goal. So please don't break those two rules. When sending a package with UPS or FedEx, how do we schedule a pickup? I was told we can only schedule a pickup with DHL via PostMate. That is true. DHL will schedule a pickup based on it feels that you have created a package to ship or accepted a drop-off. It will automatically send a request in most, not all, in most circumstances. Some of you may have a store in a location where DHL does not do that, and you will have to contact them for a pickup. But for UPS and FedEx, you are required, absolutely required by that carrier to have a daily pickup. You don't have the option of scheduling a pickup. Part of your agreement that you sign with them is that you will have a daily pickup. So that's how that happens. And by the way, on their website, it will say what time that pickup is. So you need to work that out with the carrier. So let's say I close at 6 p.m. I want my pickup as close to 6 p.m. as I can get so that I can continue shipping with that carrier as close to close as possible. The carriers are generally pretty good about coming in about that time. Also, please note that if you have a pickup and it's at, let's say it's at 5 p.m. is your carrier pickup on the website, and your driver starts coming in at 3:30, you should refuse the packages to that driver or tell him he has to come back and check or text you or call you and check if you have more packages set that same day up to 5 p.m. Because remember, that advertising, that website is also advertising to people who are dropping off packages, and they are counting on that drop-off time being accurate. They have the right to think that their package dropped off at 10 to 5 is going to not leave the store, or is going to leave the store still that day if your pickup says 5 on the website. So your driver has an obligation to be committed to the time that the carrier provides on the website. Whew, that was a lot. Okay. I think I got through most of the questions. If I did not get through to your question and you are a PostalMate customer, please reach out to our support team. If you are not yet a PostalMate customer, please reach out to our sales team. Sarah would love to talk to you about any questions you have with PostalMate. Having said that, I want to thank you for your time today, and I hope that you have a great week, and I hope that we see you at one of our events soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.